Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Andor Episode 8, Narkina-Five. And Narkina-Five really should be the name of the five-man boy band after they struck that pose.
Streets back, all right.
I'm sorry. Let's break down all the visual details and Star Wars Easter eggs that you might have missed this episode. Composer Nicholas Bertel updates some music over the opening title so that now it sounds like a hammer on metal, echoing the sounds of Cassian and his labor crew assembling this Imperial machinery in prison. Cassian is moved off of Niamos as a tan armored shore trooper barks.
Move it! Don't look at me. Move it!
Yeah, this trooper is not credited as a different actor, so it's probably once again Maul voice actor Sam Witwer doing an uncredited cameo like he did as a shore trooper last episode. The troopers sort the prisoners into transports based on how able-bodied they are. The guy in front of Cassian, Tuck Hybex, is from Galdi and is sent to Belsavis, which is a planet from Star Wars Legends and 1995 Children of the Jedi novel. In the Old Republic stories, it's a frozen planet used as a hiding place of young Jedi who escaped the Purge, like Roganda Ismarin, who was also made canon as one of the Jedi names on the wall in Obi-Wan Kenobi. This idea of immediately sorting prisoners into labor camps and rushing them off is one of many dark parallels in this episode to Nazi concentration camps. George Lucas has depicted the Empire space Nazis since the beginning. I mean, have you seen the wings on Dedra's pants? This episode continues the metaphor in the way the prisoners are just so efficiently sorted and shipped off to different labor camps. The focus on the taking off of the shoes, reminding us of the heartbreaking Last Witnesses exhibit at the US Holocaust Memorial Museum, and the way these prisoners are lined up for showers. This whole place is just a well-oiled machine of cruelty. We cut to Cyril Karn in the Bureau of Standards. The first shot is literally what he sees from his cubicle when he looks up. I think he might be playing a game on his terminal.
That man is playing Galaga.
There aren't really any numbers or text on his screen, just flashing shapes. This kind of looks like a 70s game console screen. This whole episode frames all of these prisoners' toilings as a kind of game. The prisoners of Narkina-Five literally competing against each other.
You play against all the other tables in this room. I play against all the other rooms.
Play.
Call it what you will.
Competing for petty food-based rewards or to avoid pain. Cyril Karn playing his games. I mean, if you think about it, all these characters are in a kind of Squid Game. And I guess in Mon Mothma's case, it's a Squig Game.
No, I'll have hers.
Cyril's supervisors follow a mouse droid to his cubicle. I'm assuming this is the same mouse droid that nearly tripped him when he walked to his desk last episode. While Cassian's cuffs are magnetically sealed in place, we cut to Cyril's knee bouncing nervously as he waits to be interrogated for filing false inquiries looking for Cassian. Cyril corrects Dedra from 5 to 6 inquiries, showing he's not ashamed of his actions.
One would think you'd want to leave Ferrix as far behind as possible.
One would be wrong.
Yeah, another parallel between Karn and Andor. They both keep returning to Ferrix, despite how stupid it is for them to go back to it. Narkina-Five has floating prison facilities, and if you count, there are 7 of them. 7 is a magic number. 7 bases shaped as 7-sided heptagons. 7 levels, 7 rooms, 7 tables, 7 men per table, and later we find out 7 seconds to return to your cell when the lights start flashing. May remind you of the St. Ives riddle. As I was going to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives. Each wife had 7 sacks, each sack had 7 cats, each cat had 7 kids. Kids, cats, sacks, and wives, how many were going to St. Ives? And if you watch Die Hard with a Vengeance, you know that the answer is, of course, 1. Only you are going to St. Ives. Similarly, this facility buries you in this number game so that you lose sight of yourself. Now, 7 is a prime number and has various different meanings to different mythologies and fictions. 7 deadly sins, the lucky number 7. God created the world in 7 days. 7 gods in the faith of the 7 in Game of Thrones. 7 Horcruxes for Harry Potter. Dante's 7th circle of hell houses the violent. But here, I think 7 is less about symbolism than it is just about harmonic balance. Since all groups are kept in competition with each other, 7 groups is a large enough number to keep each group motivated to avoid being last, but to also feel pride if they top the others. Notice how Aquino only cares about being in the top 3 of his level. 7 is also an odd number to prevent mutinous coalitions from forming and to encourage fluidity among the factions. With 7, dissent is overruled quickly and it's just easier to conform. And with the prisoners keeping each other honest and keeping each other motivated, it all plays out like a Stanford prison experiment. Now, as the transport arrives, you see how each base is surrounded by whirlpools at the points. These might come from engines that keep the bases suspended, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Really, my darkest theory for what they are making in these rooms are just machine parts and turbines just to perpetuate the prison itself with no other Imperial purpose, which in some ways would be even more messed up than if they're building parts of the Death Star. Miro produces the Imperial Starpath unit that she recovered from Barracks, and she pauses for Wolf Yularen to catch up.
My full report highlights the prevalence of this problem galaxy-wide.
I'm listening.
Oh, Wolf, you Lauren, always charming us since your first cameo on the Death Star in The New Hope. And he's so good at multitasking. I really hope he's reading reports from his good buddy Grand Admiral Thrawn, because if you watch Rebels, you know those two are friends. Miro reveals they have codenamed Luthen Axis. Axis makes sense, as Luthen is a kind of fulcrum upon which the current phase of the rebellion hangs, and fulcrum is a rebel codename used by Ahsoka. But using the word Axis, also pretty ironic when you remember that the Axis powers included the Nazis in World War II. And we learned the purpose of the prisoner's bare feet and the guard's insulated boots. The warden reveals that the floors are made of tungstoid steel. This is a substance from the 2009 novel Fate of the Jedi Abyss. Kudos to Diego Luna and these other actors for their perfectly synced contortions. It looks incredibly painful, especially for Cassian, whose feet and hand touch the floor. Even more points of contact, even more pain. And notice how the warden smiles just a bit, enjoying the sadism of this before catching himself to release them. Karn tells Miro that he didn't get a good look at Luthen. Remember back in episode 3, Cassian held him at gunpoint and Karn was never able to turn around to see Luthen's face. He only saw him as a blur when he passed on the speeder bike. And as Miro leaves, Karn still smiles a bit to himself, comforted that he made an impression on her and that someone is finally investigating the Ferrix incident. As Cassian is brought into his workroom, he clocks where the guards hang their boots, and each boot is stamped with an Imperial crest. He also notices how truly inefficient and easily thrown off schedule these guards are, showing that it's really the design of the facility, not the personnel, that makes it so secure. I think this will all be useful next episode when they escape. The prisoners all wear white creamsicle uniforms at a mostly white facility, recalling the production design of George Lucas's dystopian sci-fi THX 1138. We meet the floor manager, Kino Loy, played by Andy Serkis, who's of course played Supreme Leader Snoke in the sequels, and he says,
Losing hope, your mind, keep it yourself.
Already, I just get this guy way more than anything we learned about Snoke. Cassian meets his table, Jembok, Zal, Taga, Ulaf, Ham, and Melshi. And Melshi should look familiar. Duncan Powell played Rune Scott Melshi in Rogue One. He was a rebel commander in Cassian's unit who helped Cassian break Jyn Erso out of the women's prison on Wobani and leads the rebel faction in the bunker on Scarif. Ulaf is played by Christopher Fairbank, who played the thug in the 1989 Batman who set up this iconic moment.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Ulaf struggles to keep up during the sudden sprint segment, reminding us of the heart-pounding speed test that Eamon Gert puts the worker under to make that hinge in Schindler's List. Now, all the workers are totally in the dark with theories about what's really going on. They notice the guards outside are laughing. They speculate that Kino is actually the one in charge. I guess putting them all through this like he's an undercover boss. I feel like there's also a meta joke here, like they recognize Andy Serkis as Snoke and have their own fan theories about Snoke being everything. Now, it is not clear what they're building yet. It does have 6 arms that are bent inward. Obviously, this would be something the Empire would need a lot of if it's being mass produced like this. So if it's not turbines to keep the facility afloat, I did speculate they could be parts of TIE fighter cockpits, like this facility might be part of an Imperial contract with the Sinar fleet systems, or they could be the hexagonal nodes to build the framework of the curved Death Star. There are only 4 episodes left of this season of Andor. It's so good. I don't want it to end. And thanks to Star Wars Card Trader, I can get all my favorite Andor moments on my phone, so the rebellion is always in my pocket. Look, here's Cinta contemplating the consequences of the Aldhani heist. Star Wars Card Trader by Topps lets you open digital packs to collect your favorite Star Wars characters, weapons, and moments. It's not just Andor characters, get yourself a Leia, a Grogu, or a Cad Bane too. Once you open the packs, you can connect and trade cards with fans across the galaxy to complete sets. Get free cards and credits daily to grow your collection. There's so much to this app. You can create missions to unlock unique content or craft your cards into rarer ones at the workbench. They're always releasing new card sets, so the fun of collecting never has to end. Join me now on Star Wars Card Trader by Topps by downloading the app from the link in this video's description. Find me on there under the username New Rockstars Backs to propose a trade. Mon Mothma and her husband Perrin drink a Chandrillan drink by dropping squigs that disintegrate and fizz, toasting with the term Sagrona and Sagrona Tima. Mon is trying to secure votes against the Emperor's latest overreach with PORD and remembers Perrin when he was 15 years old.
Remember Perrin at 15?
Oh, let's not.
The Academy Firebrand.
We later learn that Mon and Perrin were actually part of an arranged marriage as teenagers per a Chandrillan custom. Perrin and Tay Colma trade barbs.
Good luck feeding the galaxy. I'm off to feed myself. Charity begins at home.
The look Perrin gives Tay after that. Mon Mothma's daughter Leda interrupts their scheming.
You're here all the time now.
Learning to love Coruscant.
You're drinking squigs.
Oh, I've lost my taste for it.
It's disgusting.
That's the point.
So yeah, it sounds like Chandrilans drink these squigs as a snobby delicacy. And Leda definitely seems to be suspicious of Tay Kolma. She might be the one who ends up reporting him and blowing her mother's money-moving operation. On the bridge, Taga uses hand signals with an inmate across the way, so a prison break may already be in the early development, even without Cassian planning it. Mon chats with Senators Dow, Slorda, Tinar, and Yivin, with Yivin defending the Emperor as just doing his job to protect everyone. Someone in this group says
what he means.
Says what he means. Hey, I like him, he says what he means, what? Obviously, commonly said about supposedly populist politicians in the real world who actually don't really say anything and actually don't really mean anything. It's all hot air. Hey, no editor, please don't show an image for that. They all flipped out when I referenced Marks a few episodes back. Genbach shows Cassian his cell where they get food from a tube. It's a lot like an umbilical cord. It's just super infantilizing, isn't it?
Winner gets taste with their food. Top table wins flavor.
Cassian's number is 2180. His sentence was 6 years, which in Earth years would be 2190. So if we assume 10 days on Yamos, it does line up. Now, yes, it does not really make sense for Star Wars years and days to line up with the orbital cycles of Earth around our sun, but it just does, so get over it. Genbach says everyone's number was doubled last month as a result of the PORD, and Taga is shocked to learn no one on the outside knows or cares about this. They speculate that a garrison was slaughtered by rebels, even though it was just a robbery. That's some Imperial propaganda at play there. And Ulaf's cell, it looks like there's only 74 days left. That tracks with him being one of the older inmates, but that also implies that A, he has been here for several years and still never moved up the ladder to where Kino is, despite Kino having more days left on his sentence. And B, last month, his number was half of that because it was doubled, remember? So he was so close to release last month. And in this episode, when we shift ahead 30 days to the point where Ulaf probably should have been released, this is when he starts to stumble. It's just so heartbreaking because something's probably gonna happen to this guy and he probably would have been free if not for the PORD sentencing increases that Cassian caused. Or not caused, like it wasn't his decision to do it, but obviously his choices led to it. And he's probably gonna feel a lot of guilt for it, or he should feel a lot of guilt for it, but not that much guilt. It's the Empire's fault. Leda eats a snack, which looks a lot like one of those teal macaroons, not macaroons, the macarons that Grogu snacked on in The Mandalorian. Cassian's number transitions from 2180 to 2150, and we see 30 shifts later. They don't measure their time in days, they measure it in shifts because they don't see the outdoors. They don't know if it's day or night or what. Cassian is eating off of a plate, suggesting that his table won a recent shift, because otherwise wouldn't all their food come in the tubes, right? All the prisoners stand naked to get sanitized, echoing the prison shower montage in Shawshank Redemption, and we nearly see our first Star Wars ass crack from Andy Serkis, but the booty never makes it into frame. They retrieve clean clothes from cubby holes, like the Ferrix workers' glove wall in episode 1, and even these prison guards' boot rack. It seems like everyone in this Imperial machine is kept on a routine like children in school. Ulaf jams a pin, and Kino comes over in a solid Gordon Ramsay in Hell's Kitchen impression.
Hey! You're just taking a breather. Come on, guys! You got a chance of winning the shift today. Shame to waste it.
Yeah, Kino's smile is totally performative. It's a tool that he uses to reassure and motivate, like Luthen's smile, Mon Mothma's smile. Everybody's smiling is used as a weapon or a mask. On Ferrix, Brasso walks past an Imperial speeder bike, the kind we saw in Corellia and Solo: A Star Wars Story. He and Bix check in on Marva, who fell trying to open a floodgate on Rick's road to see if a tunnel was open under the hotel so that rebels could catch the Imperials by surprise. Vel and Cinta wait for Andor to show up. Cinta wants to set up for a while to stay and watch, but not with Vel, as that would draw too much attention.
Who would you say you are?
Maybe I'm a rich girl, running away from her family.
That's cold. Even for you.
Now, I have been thinking that Vel might be Luthen's daughter because they do look pretty similar, but if she would be running away from her family, in that case, she'd be working for her father's business. So I don't know about that, but it seems like she's gonna be related to someone important. Maybe Tay Kolma, or maybe one of those other senators. Bix calls Luthen shop. Now, Luthen has a few new items. He moved that white Jedi Temple Guard mask onto a central pedestal beside a headpiece that looks like Padme's Naboo crest headdress from Attack of the Clones, which you can get at Galaxy's Edge. There's also some chest armor that looks a lot like Mandalorian Beskar. Sadly, apparently no one wants to buy the Gungan shield or that Starkiller armor. Clea tells Luthen that he is slipping, and he agrees to shut down the Ferrix frequency. Unfortunately for Bix, on her end, the lights stay lit, so she has no way of knowing if the other side is even listening anymore. As that overhead shot of her suggests, she is literally siloed. Another great shot composition showing some cross dissolving from Vel on the Ferrix shuttle to Cinta spying on the Andor home, like Anakin and Padme's longing glances across the city from their windows in Revenge of the Sith. A prisoner named Vimos takes his life by stepping on the red floor. We actually saw him earlier in the shower, and he has some scarring on the side of his face. This might not be the first time he has tried to do this. The others say that he railed it, which might be their slang in the way people in underground metros will jump in front of trains or touch the electrified third rail. Luthen takes his Fondor Hallcraft to Segra Milo to meet up with Saw Gerrera's partisan group. Few familiar faces from Rogue One return, Benthic 2 Tubes, and then down below if you look closely, that's Moroff, the Gigorian. They also have a few early model X-Wings. This would be after the Incom Corporation has transitioned away from the Z95 models. You'll notice these X-Wings have the Astromech port. Forrest Whitaker returns as Saw Gerrera, who does not yet need a breathing mask as he does in Rogue One. He is younger and healthier here, though still he has the scar across his face that he has in the Rebels era. Luthen wants Saw to meet with a rebel named Anto Krieger to give him air support as he attacks an Imperial power station on Spellhouse, but Saw is reluctant to merge their efforts.
Krieger's a separatist. Maepes, a neo-republican. The Gorman Front, the Partisan Alliance, sectorists, human cultists, galaxy partitionist. They're lost!
Separatist refers to the Clone Wars era Confederacy of Independent Systems. Gorman Front, those are the freedom fighters supporting the Gormans, whom Mon Mothma's been talking a lot about. All these groups are just various anti-Empire political alliances, all of which have failed. Bix gets arrested, and Dedra orders Pot to be left in the room so that Bix can see his tortured body, and then Dedra can pretend that this was a mistake. She's just a very skilled interrogator. I'm really worried about Bix. We end on Cassian's team toiling away as more and more of these parts get assembled. Assuming these are pieces of the Death Star, it's pretty sad to think that these prisoners are once again the instruments of their own destruction. But one question I'm left with, assuming Cassian left his credits above the shower back on Niamos, did he also leave Nemik's manifesto there too? We need to protect that document at all costs. I mean, I guess you could argue a political text in any reader's hand remains valuable so long as that person doesn't want to burn the book, but damn, I am hoping that Cassian stashed it back on Ferrix for Marva to bring to book club with the daughters of Ferrix. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.